stop the interview only by the end of 40th minute only, because they reserve the last 5 minutes for you to ask them questions. I requested for about a month of preparation time, and the recruiter agreed to it, and we scheduled the interviews for a month later. In Meta, you don't really apply to levels. It's the recruiters say that the level will be decided based upon your performance after the interviews.
How were you like managing your DSA preparation specifically for Meta, along with the all the Google work and like probably your busy life in London as well? So how did you use those one whole month, and like how eventually the final interview went all together?
This was like all my resources that I used for system design preparation.
What is the core difference between interviewing for Google and interviewing for Meta? So guys, before moving forward, there is a very important information that I would like to give you. So recently we wrapped our Elite 1.0 front-end development course, and now we have launched our Elite 2.0 advanced front-end development course. This is a bigger and a better front-end development course that you need. This course doesn't need any particular prerequisite, and we are going to take you from the very beginner level to the advanced level of front-end engineering. We have actually included projects like your own Replit clone, Wix website maker clone, right? Uber clone, and a lot of similar projects. You are going to make your own PubSub library based LLD driven projects, and we are going to make sure that you learn important front-end design patterns as well. I'm going to list down all the projects and all the important design patterns here. This is the only course that you need if you are aiming for SD1 or SD2 or SD3 kind of roles, because we are going to take everything to the very advanced level in front-end engineering. We are going to learn a lot of optimizations, and we are going to see technologies like Next.js, Redux, Zustand, TypeScript, React, and of course, the latest version of React. This particular course is going to make sure that you have ample amount of projects that you can add in your resume. We are going to make approximately 20 plus projects with different variety of complexities, engineering problems, and of course, there will be a lot of discussion around the core concepts of frontend. So what are you waiting for? Check out the course link in the description below, and you can use the coupon code mentioned in the description section to get maximum discount possible. See you guys in the cohort, and let's get back to the video. Hello everyone, I am Sanket Singh and welcome back to my channel. So guys, today we have a very special guest with us. Till now on the channel, I try to invite all those people who have cracked something really big and something really solid in their career. And today we have one of those people, which I very recently met and came to know about the fact that she recently got an interview opportunity and even cracked that opportunity at Meta. So today we have Garima Rajput with us, and we'll be talking about some really interesting story around her preparation strategy. That what were some of the key pointers she kept in her mind while preparing for Meta? What were the different interviews that actually happened for her whole process, and how she actually approached all of them and eventually landed up a job at Meta. So first of all, welcome, Garima. If you can just quickly introduce yourself, then
Yes.
we all will know what you do and where do you actually work.
Okay. Hi, Sanket. First of all, thank you for having me. It's nice meeting you. To introduce myself, my name is Garima. I have 4 years of software engineering experience. I started out my career with Adobe. That was an on-campus placement from IT Delhi, and uske baad, after just 9 months, I switched to Google. In Google India, where I worked in Google Cloud team for about a year, and then I got an internal transfer to Google London in Google Ads org. I worked in Google Ads for about 2 years, and then recently I switched to Meta in London only. And this is about my full time job. As my part time thing, I also provide career mentorship and resources to anybody who is looking to get a job at big tech companies like Fang or anything. So yeah, that's about me.
Yep. So if anybody who is watching the video is interested to know like how she actually prepare, and maybe you want to get some guidance around the fact that how you can also crack some big tech giant interviews in software engineering domain. So I'll drop the all the relevant links for her top mate and for her profile. You guys can reach her out and get some, I would say, some really interesting insights from her regarding all of the interview process. So definitely I can say, Garima, that you cracked Google once, and then now you have cracked Meta, like the two big fish from the Fang overall set of companies. So we'll focus our, I would say, discussion on Meta. So what role you interviewed for Meta, and like how you actually approached for the corresponding role? Did you reach out to somebody, or maybe somebody else reached out to you directly? How was the overall application process like?
So I have some friends who are working in Meta. So as we all know, the best way to apply for anything is via referral, and that's what I did. So मेरे referral से apply किया and I got a call back within 2 days. I think the recruiter reached out to me and they said they would like to schedule an interview of like the first call with the recruiter followed by an interview. So the first call was like, I don't think it even lasted 5 minutes. It was a very quick call with the recruiter. They just asked, what am I doing? What role am I interested in? Just to make sure that whatever I've applied to matches to what I'm saying. That's all. And then they scheduled my first pre screening round 2 weeks later.
Okay.
So this was like the initial process. And regarding the role, there are usually two roles, and this part is a little confusing with Meta. So for software engineering, they have something called software engineering infrastructure and software engineering product.
Yeah.
Now, I applied for software engineering infrastructure, and although there is a team matching phase once you clear all the rounds, they usually ask you to apply for one thing in the beginning only. Although it
Okay.
doesn't really matter much, the only difference that you will face will be in terms of what kind of system design interview you will have. For
Okay.
infrastructure, you'll have a high level system design, while as for product, you'll have a low level system design interview. So that was the only difference. I applied for
Okay.
infra.
Okay, so you applied for infra, and then you were expected to go to the career site and apply to a particular infra related position as well. Okay, in case, okay, so if somebody applies for product, most of the things are same. Just that system design round is different. One is low. Okay, so this was communicated to you by the recruiter only, or like you figured this out yourself. She told you, like
I
the recruiter
knew.
told you.
I mean, yeah, I knew because I have friends who have interviewed at Meta before, so I knew
Ah,
it. But the recruiter also told me about it once I cleared the pre-screening round and moved to on-sites.
okay, so what's in the pre-screening round? Like how the pre-screening round looks like?
So pre-screening, just like Google, it was purely a coding round, no system design, nothing. It's a 45-minute round where in Meta, they usually ask you two medium level questions. Sometimes it could be hard, but usually it's a two medium lead code style coding interview where you are supposed to like come up with a solution, the optimal solution, and also code it up. So they use something called CoderPad, I think, to for the live interviews, and then usually they stop the interview only by the end of 40th minute only because they reserve the last 5 minutes uh, for you to ask them questions. This is like a very specific thing. I thought at least you would get full 45 minutes for both the questions, but they usually stop the interview something between 35 to 40 minutes only. So keep that in mind. And regarding the questions, they were like the level of difficulty was medium only for pre-screening, something around BFS, and one binary search thing was there for the pre-screening round.
Got it. So are we like expected to code both the question like end to end? Like in Google, we know that one question is expected to be coded end to end. And if the first question is relatively harder than the follow-up question, if you don't even code, then that's also okay. But what's the scenario with Meta? Are we expected to code both the question? Because looks like both the topic for both the questions are like absolutely end to end different. So
Yeah.
what's the scenario?
So they were actually completely different questions. It's not like the function for one could be reused in the other. They were two completely separate problems. But because none of them were like hard, so you are expected to solve both of them and write the code for both of them. So yeah,
Okay, so you have to write a running code altogether. Is that correct? Yeah, makes sense.
yes.
Makes sense. So, like, what's after the pre-screening round? Like, what's the remaining set of rounds are gonna look like?
Yeah. So after screening round, again, the recruiter was like pretty quick to get back with results. They got back to me, I think by the evening. I took the interview in the morning, and they said that you have made it to on-sites and let's speak on a call. Let's book some time and speak. So then when I had the next call with my recruiter, then they sort of introduce you to another. They pass you on to the next stage and also to the new recruiter, and then they would explain you everything that's going to happen in the on-site round. They call it loop interviews. I think at Meta they call it the loop. So there the recruiter would tell you about the whole system design thing that I just said, and then the loop basically consists of four set of interviews, out of which two are DSA. One is system design, depending upon which role you applied for, and lastly a behavioral round. So these are the four rounds that are going to happen for you in the loop interviews. I asked for like some time for preparation because I wasn't very confident with system design, and this was my first time giving any system design interview. So I wanted some time, and I requested for about a month of preparation time, and the recruiter agreed to it, and we scheduled the interviews for a month later.
Got it, got it. So so two DSA rounds are there, one system design, and what's the final round? It's like a non-technical one, or like how's it?
Yeah, yeah, it's called behavioral round. So that this round is completely non-technical. It's just there to see if you match the culture, if you're a good culture fit for the company. How do you resolve conflicts? What have you worked on in the past? It's
Got it.
all. I mean, people or recruiters say that this round sometimes decide what kind of level you're going to get. Because in Meta you don't really apply to levels. It's the recruiters say that the level will be decided based upon your performance after the interviews. So this behavioral round, it plays a very crucial role in deciding your level. So people who do get down level, sometimes the recruiters say that the feedback was you didn't do so well in your behavioral round. You didn't display those characteristics that are needed for somebody to be at an L5 or L6 or so on levels.
Got it. Got it. Makes sense. And how are the I would say the two DSA rounds are looking like? Like, are they like exactly on the same pattern of pre-screening, or they are relatively like having some changes? What's the difficulty looking like? What's the pattern like on the DSA round specifically?
Pattern wise and preparation wise, I don't think anything is going to change for anybody who's preparing, but they do tend to get a little harder as compared to the
Okay.
pre-screening round. Because I did get one hard question in one of the interviews. The first question was easy, so it was a combination of easy and hard. So none of my interview rounds I only got one question. It was definitely two questions in Meta interviews, but one was like very straightforward and easy and the other one was hard. So this was the case
Okay.
for one round, and for the other one again two medium problems. So this is like the for us preparation isn't going to change so much, but from an interviewer perspective, when they see that it's a loop round, they sort of try to give not go so lenient about what kind of ranking they are giving, and the questions they are asking. They like, I mean, they can ask hard questions in those rounds as well,
Got
as
it.
while that's not the case in pre-screening round.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So, I'll come back to the design round, but like a lot of people actually ask this question because once you start working somewhere, like you worked for like more than 2 years at Google, you were in Adobe as well. Once you start working, you lose kind of like sort of lose your touch with DSA.
Mhm.
Although I know, like being an ex Googler, you already have that, I would say, essence of the fact that you come from a very hard DSA round already. So at some point of time, though, you prepared a relatively good DSA, and that stays with you. But like, how were you like managing your DSA preparation specifically for Meta, along with the all the Google work and like probably your busy life in London as well? So can you maybe share some light there?
Yeah, like preparing for a new job while working full time is quite challenging. You have to give 8 hours of your day to your full time job and then prepare for new role simultaneously. So it does get challenging. But I think discipline is the key here. I made sure that I work out some problems every day, and initially it was really tough. I had to really push myself to do some questions. When you're just starting out and you're like you have to brush up your concepts and reading the theory and all of that, that gets a little boring in the beginning. But I just had to tell myself that I need to just get past this phase, and once I get into the problem solving mode in that lead code style, then everything will be fine. But the initial few days, the beginning is always the hardest. So that's how it was. But I made sure that I spend at least 3 to 4 hours every day on this lead code thing. I would solve about try to solve about 2 to 3 or maybe 4 problems. Sometimes, if there were new problems, I could only do 3 to 4 problems. But if I was just revising some problems that I had done before, then I could even do about 6, 7, or 8 problems in a day. Then this went on for weekdays. For weekends, again, like you have to give up your socializing for some time and all of that. So spend a lot of time studying on weekends, stopped going out and all of that. Like I try to spare about 7, 8 hours on weekends, because that's where like I could study for the most part. I could prepare most of the difficult topics on weekends, because I was like I would leave the difficult topics for weekends because I didn't want to get caught up in them on weekdays. So this is just how prepared. So this schedule went on for like 2 months. I think for DSA, because I had done a lot of practice before while interviewing for Google, that didn't take much time. Probably 1 month was enough. But system design was completely new to me. That took another 1 month, 1 month or 1 month and 10 days or something.
So did you kind of like keep any magic number in your mind? Like a lot of people like even put in their resume that I've solved XYZ number of questions on lead code. Did you like keep any magic number in your mind?
No, I don't do that. I just what I do usually when I'm practicing for any topic, I always do the questions that I've done before, just to like just take a glance,
Right.
okay, whatever I've
Yeah.
done before, and then I pick random questions from the bottom. I don't know why I do that, but I just go tend to pick questions from the bottom. I just feel like they are trendy or something. So I just pick something from the bottom and see what is the acceptance rate for that question. If is like if it's something above 30ish, I would pick that. But if it's very bad, then I would just skip that.
Okay, got it. Got it. So you solely used lead code for the DSA round prep, right? Got it. And what about the design round? Like how was your design round looking like, and like how did the interview went, and like what was the prep strategy? Because you asked for one whole month, and I believe like it's a good enough time along with your, because as far as I know, like in Google, you already work on a lot of design documentations and everything. So like because on the nature of the problem that you work at Google is like pretty complex, so you must be having some context around how to design scalable systems and like writing design docs. But like preparing for a design interview is like a different game. So how did you use those one whole month, and like how eventually the final interview went all together? Can you tell us something about that?
So when while you're working on a job, and like you mentioned, it's like completely different thing, preparing for a design interview. But when you're studying things, you sort of relate to, okay, I did this while I was working on XYZ project in my job. But presenting that as a scalable distributed system, designing it in those 45 minutes specifically, that was something that I had never done before. So that's why I requested for a month of preparation time, where like everybody, I also started with grouping system design. I started reading that online course. I bought it. Then after reading all the building blocks that are there for any high level system design, then I jumped onto the questions. So reading the theory itself took me 10, 15, no, not 15, 10ish day. I try to wrap it up as quickly as I can, because there are a lot of building blocks available, but then it gets boring if you just spend a lot of time there. So about 10 days just for reading all the building blocks. And then I moved on to the questions. I read the questions from grouping, as well as I followed a lot of YouTube videos as well. So there are a couple of people who like create design videos on YouTube that I really, really liked. One of them, I think his name is Mikhail or something. But he only has 6 or 7 design videos on his channel. That's it. But all of them are just amazing. They're fully packed with knowledge and everything. So I watched his videos like a couple of times to fully understand them. And then the couple of design videos here and there, just taking up any, reading any Medium article or whatever. So for grouping, YouTube videos, some Medium articles here and there. This was like all my resources that I used for system design preparation. And then I also had to understand like how it's going, because when you're studying, there's just so much you can tell in those for that design
Right.
question. You have to make sure to wrap it up within 45 minutes. So I would set a timer at the end, okay, so that I can finish everything within 45 minutes, and not just get carried away with one concept or something.
Got it. Got it. Makes sense. And like how the final interview went in that case? Like
Yeah.
did you feel like you answered most of the questions, or like how was your experience, I would say?
So, what I was expecting is that the interviewer would put up a lot of cross questions, but that didn't happen, at least to me. I mean, they gave me a design problem, something around, events, pipeline, and all of that. It was not a very product specific design, because I was interviewing for infra role, that could be the reason. So, the interview posed the problem, and then they just let me speak for the next 35 minutes or something. I mean, they just interrupted me in between for a couple of cross questions, like related to database and some data structure that I was using. What is that going to like? What's that going to look like or something? But not so much. So I was just leading the conversation. I was just driving it throughout the 35 minutes. I was telling them, okay, this what I'm planning, and then I would discuss the trade-offs that are there between different options. Then I would draw that diagram on. So they use Draw for these interviews, so I drew that block diagram on that board. And then we had a lot of discussion around certain topics. I was the one who was speaking most of the time, and then I couldn't finish it for the final interview. Like it was there, but there were a lot of things that could have been added to that design, I felt like. But the interviewer had to stop me again by the end of 40th minute. So I asked them, like, there are still a lot of things that I can talk about in this design, this and this is missing. So the interviewer said, like, okay, I understand, but we have to stop it because the time is running out, but it's okay, yeah. So, I mean, even I practiced with that 45-minute timer, still I missed out on a lot of things because the conversation, it goes in one direction and then you miss out on a lot of different things that you wanted to say. So, yeah.
Got it. Got it. So yeah, like system design rounds are like tricky. Sometimes you get a lot of cross questions. Sometimes like it's you who is like kind of like driving the conversation altogether,
Yeah.
and just people just want to listen. That what's your thought process like? So like
Yeah.
I was reading one article on the internet like quite some month back, and they mentioned that like they kind of like prepared a framework that if you are going for a system design interview, put this thing in first, capacity and envelope estimation, then
Yeah.
decide on the services, then decide on the optimization, and so on. So did you kind of like followed a particular flow, or uh, like what was it like or maybe you just started all in with the system design, like the actual design part only, or did you follow this kind of a flow or something?
No, no, I think I followed the flow. It's the way that it's described in grouping. Firstly, I started out with the functional, non-functional requirements. This is like the beginning, and then did the capacity estimation using that back of the envelope calculation. I
Yeah.
forgot the name. Yeah, and then discuss the cap theorem. What can we achieve? What can we not? And then I like moved on to the design. So before going into the design, you have to do this. Set the stage with all of these calculations with these numbers, so you know what you're going in with. So definitely did that, and then moved on to the design. Then discuss what services could be there, and followed by the DB discussion. That was like a discussion in itself. Took about 5-7 minutes. What kind of DBs am I planning to use, trade-offs between different databases, different data structure that I was using along with the DB and all of that. So it was like pretty structured because I knew, no, I had read a lot of designs on grouping, so I knew how the discussion should look like, the way it should flow in those 45 minutes. I mean, it couldn't cover a lot of things towards the end, but the beginning was like quite perfect with everything set up. So, yeah.
Got it. Got it. One last question. Being an ex Googler and now being in Meta, any one quick piece of advice that you would like to give to somebody who is preparing for the tech interviews? That what is the core difference between interviewing for Google and interviewing for Meta? Like something you might yourself felt, not even like technically it should be there, but something that you felt was different when you interviewed for Google and when you interviewed for Meta. Anything?
Okay, I'm going to be very honest. Interviewing for Meta is comparatively easier as interviewing for Google. So, if you have cracked Google, I don't think cracking Meta would be very difficult for you, unless
Sometimes it's
it's
your day also. Sometimes it's sometimes it
yeah,
happens.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe the
Of course,
interviewer is on Google side is also maybe is
yeah, yeah,
relatively easy on you. So yeah,
of
yeah.
course.
Like I've heard this feedback. I've heard this feedback altogether because one problem with Google is that they just ask your like DSA, like they don't care like if you have worked for like 3 odd years, 4 odd years, and like they don't care. They just want you to like code on a Google Docs altogether. So yeah, makes sense, makes sense. And like I believe like you'll be having a great time building infra at Meta altogether. And maybe we would love to look out for some really interesting stories on your Instagram as well. I'll put out the link for Garima's Instagram and all the relevant top mate links as well, where you can actually reach out to her. I believe the discussion was crisp, accurate, and to the point. We just wanted to understand that what was your interview process like and how you prepared. I believe we got a good idea, and I'll try to maybe put out all the resources that Garima actually mentioned in the description section below, so that you guys can actually use them and maybe get a call from Meta as soon as possible. Cool. But yeah, thanks, Garima. Thank you for taking out time and like sharing all the interesting parts on the tech preparation of all the interviews. Would love to like invite you soon once you like make something really nice at Meta, and maybe you can share us your engineering experience at Meta as well sometime later as well. So yeah, that being said, let's wrap today's session here, guys. We are going to meet soon in some next set of videos. Till then, take care. Bye bye. I'm Sanket Singh signing off.